What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Diesel Dog video out here in the garage. Got a little project for the pickup truck here, the 2010 Silverado for you new people. 5.3. This thing has got 231,000 miles on it, and it's had the cold air intake on it its entire life. I cleaned the K&N filter, did the whole cleaning and oiling thing at like 115,000 miles or something. I did a video on that. And just this past weekend, I did another cleaning here at 231,000 miles on it. Thing was pretty filthy, so I washed it out, re-oiled it. But I've been wanting to switch to a stock intake on this thing for a while now. I'm not a huge fan of the cold air intakes, to be honest, especially on these GMs. The oil gets on the mass airflow sensor and can cause issues. I had that happen on this thing once. I've already replaced it. And who knows if, I just oiled it again, and who knows if it's going to end up causing an issue for the mass airflow. Anywho, just did that this past weekend on Saturday. Is now Monday. Today on Marketplace, scrolling through on my lunch break, come across a stock intake. It's for a 2009 Silverado 5.3. I found it on Marketplace in my hometown, so I didn't have to go anywhere. I just picked it up on my way home for 40 bucks. Someone was getting rid of it. They had put a cold air intake on there. The guy said his son put it on. It was his old truck, and now his son drives it, so he put a cold air intake on it. It's been romping around. Just need to get rid of this thing, taking up space, so works out for me. I'm always on the hunt for those deals, man, especially when I find them close to me. Jump on them right away. So let me show you. Basically nothing too fancy here, just got our stock intake. Got our air box here. I did just now notice that it's missing a one of the screws there. They like to strip out. It's just plastic, so not a big deal. I can put a self tapper in there or something. Does have an air filter in there. We'll get a new air filter. I don't know how dirty that thing is. Doesn't look too bad, but we'll put a new one in there anyways. The only thing that's going to bug me is it doesn't say the 2010 on there. It's going to say 2009, but not a big deal. We're not going to be getting rid of this thing anytime soon. That's where your mass airflow goes. So, and then we've got the crankcase vent tube there that'll be on the right side there. So, like I said, for you new people, there's the cold air intake, the K&N cold air intake on this thing. Just clean the air filter there, but just not a huge fan of them, like I said. I think you do maybe pick up some performance, but it can't be that much better. The way I see it, with these manufacturers trying so hard to gain more horsepower and more fuel efficiency at the same time, why wouldn't they all be running these things if it's that, if it's that much better over stock? If you gain power and fuel mileage at the same time, why wouldn't they all be running these things? Before I get started here, I'll give you one case study that I ran into years ago when I was working in the automotive shop. We had a guy come in with a Toyota Prius, and he wanted a set of tires put on, so we put tires on his vehicle. At the same time, the guy put a K&N air filter, just the square filter, in his stock air box on this thing, in the hopes of gaining more fuel economy, since they advertise that you gain more horsepower and increase your fuel economy at the same time. So him driving this Prius, he's trying to get the best gas mileage he can out of this thing. Puts this K&N around the same time we put the tires on. He brings it back and says, ever since you put those tires on, my fuel mileage has dropped. He was getting like 52 miles to the gallon average or something in this thing, and it had dropped to like 44 or 45. It was pretty significant. So we looked at the tires, and then we looked at what it comes with stock, and there's like, economy tires and this and that. And I don't think the tires we put on there were anything bad. It was a good set of tires, but we ended up swapping them out for a different set of tires that was supposed to be better for fuel economy, thinking maybe we just put the wrong set of tires on. He says ever since we put the tires on. Brings it back, says the fuel economy is still crap. And so we're kind of picking the brain. My boss asked him, like, well, what else have you done differently other than the tires? Because you know, with that big of a drop, he says, I haven't done anything. I put one of those K&N filters in that thing, but that should increase the gas mileage. There it be. Put the K&N filter in there, fuel mileage dropped significantly. We put the stock air filter back in, just the filter. He came back, it was back up to like 52 miles per gallon. So a couple different reasons maybe that could be. I don't remember if those Priuses have a mass airflow sensor or not. Maybe oil got on the mass airflow sensor, causing, you know, air fuel ratio issues. But a vehicle like that, and, you know, all these newer vehicles, they're tuned so specifically from the factory, the way they engineer them. Like, all the sensors want to see a specific range of fuel air mixture or any kind of reading. They're all reading it off each other to try to get you the best power and fuel economy. Is how they engineered it from the factory. When you drive off, it's already the best that they could do. So my theory is that you throw one of these things on there, depending on what vehicle it is, anything pretty new. I think when you throw one of these on there, you're getting more air, or it's messing it up. It's causing a different mass airflow reading now. And I think the more air that goes through there, the more fuel it's going to put in to compensate that. It wants a specific air fuel mixture. It doesn't just let the air through and not compensate with a little more fuel to offset that extra air going through there. Whatever the O2 sensors are reading, you know, I don't know. That's just me. But these things are pretty fickle. They're pretty sensitive. So anything you change on this thing is going to have some kind of reaction to it. Anyway, that's my long-winded way of saying, you know, you can have issues with these cold air intakes. I haven't really had too much issues like that. Like I said, I did put a mass airflow in this thing before. But just with the mileage on this thing, I'd rather have the extra filtration, and I'm not trying to race anyone. I'm not doing really burnouts anymore or anything like that. It's my daily driver. So I'd like the stock intake back on there. I've never driven this thing with the stock intake on it. So I'm curious as to what it does to my fuel mileage and just how it sounds and how it performs. So let's throw this thing on there. So I just went ahead and threw this thing on there. There's really not any need to do a how-to on this thing. It's just the air box, but here's what the stock one looks like. If you're watching this video, you probably already know what a stock Silverado air box looks like, but there's that crankcase tube, got that in there. It's all buttoned up. Last thing to do is just throw the engine cover on here. One hand this thing in the dark. Where are we at? I've never had this much trouble putting my engine cover on. Why am I missing the... Push it back a little further, maybe. Jeez, there we go. Wow. All right, it's looking stock. Looks crazy. As in, I'm just used to always having the K&N on there, so it's a little different having a stock intake on here. Here's the K&N. This thing is just looking dirty. I didn't clean it very often. Probably try to put this on Marketplace and sell it or something. This tube needs replaced. Get a little swollen, a little oil sucking through there. Probably swelled that up. Just clean this filter. Feels kind of ridiculous changing this thing like 2 days after I just cleaned this filter and got all squared away. But I got a question. Whose idea was it to make a cold air intake metal? Is this thing not just going to be getting super hot when the engine warms up, especially in the summer? And you're sucking supposedly cool air through here and just heating it up with a metal tube? Always thought about that. The whole time I've ever had that thing, I've always thought about this thing's doing nothing. It's just probably heating the air up more than a plastic tube would. One thing I was going to do was reset fuel economy. It's currently at 14.2, which is up from the 13.2 I had with my other 325 60/18 tires. So we did gain a mile per gallon. So I'm gonna reset this. I'm gonna drive to work and see if there's any change. Also curious on performance, and you can hear my LED fans buzzing right now. There we go. There's a lot of videos on people putting cold air intakes on. I don't know if anyone does any videos taking it back off and going to stock. Maybe this is a boring video, I don't know, but I am curious. I like doing these little experiments on my pickup truck. So I'm gonna drive to work. Both ways, I'm gonna drive to work, drive back, see what it does, and we'll pick up then. All right, guys, so after 2 days of driving now, I gave it 2 days. I've been driving with the stock filter and air intake system back in this 2010 Silverado 5.3, and my fuel mileage has gone up. Now, I would rather give it like a whole nother month. Maybe in a while I'll give you guys a little update on if it changed at all, but let me show you. So I promise you guys, I have not changed the way I drive. And right now we're sitting at 14.5. So my fuel mileage has increased. Now this is 1 day of driving to work, about 80 mile an hour-ish, you know, something like that. All the way about a half-hour drive to work, half-hour back on the interstate. And then another drive to a few towns over, which is about another half-hour drive there and back. A little bit slower speeds, but it was already sitting at like 14.4 yesterday. I gained another 10th, so I mean, proof is in the pudding. Like I said, I'll drive a little bit longer and see if it comes up, but with this other intake, when I put those tires on, that like 14.2, whatever it was, is the highest it's ever been consistently. So right away, getting better fuel mileage showing up. Now the computer is not always super accurate. To really get a accurate reading of your average fuel mileage, I would consider filling it up and doing it the old-fashioned way, seeing how much you use, and then calculate it that way. But going off the computer is noticing some sort of change. Now also, I will mention, this is, maybe I had an issue for a while, but I have had the check engine light on for a while for lean codes, and I kind of looked into it. I thought maybe it was my intake gaskets leaking, because I have had the intake off quite a few times a while back when I was dealing with lifter issues. I released it a few times, which required me to pull the intake off, and I put this other intake on. At work, I cleared the codes. I had a few other codes that I'm looking to see what comes back. I had a catalyst efficiency code. Please don't be catalytic converters, but it probably is. I had the lean codes, and then I had bank 1 and bank 2, rich to lean something or other. I can't remember what the number, what the P number was, but I haven't cleared the codes in a long time, so I don't know how long some of those codes have been in there and what's going to come back. Cleared the codes yesterday, drove all the way home. The last time I cleared codes a while back, by the time I got home, the check engine light was already back on. Got home yesterday, check engine light was not on. Drove all the way to the town over today, did not come on. As I was leaving from there, started up again, the check engine light came on. Okay, there it is. There's my lean codes coming back. Got similar kind of issue. Drove back, just had to make another drive just into town, and noticed the check engine light is off now. I'm like, oh God, it finally burnt out. But when I got home, I switched the key on and the check engine light is on. So I'm gonna have to scan it, see what code that is, and we'll address that. I'll make another video on that, because I want to keep this thing reliable daily driver, and I don't want the check engine light on anymore, and I don't want the tire sensor light on anymore, because it's annoying. I want nothing on the dash. It's been a while since I've had nothing on the dash on this thing. I've just been putting stuff off, so I am going to address that. Also, something kind of weird, after putting this intake system back on, I've noticed I am getting more smoke on startup after sitting a while. And like I said, I've got a part coming for that. I'm going to address that. There's a TSB for that, so I want to make a whole video surrounding that, and we'll see if that takes care of that. Maybe this intake system is just messing with the crankcase ventilation system a little more than the K&N did. Change things up. I don't know, but that's where we're at right now. The thing drives so much quieter with this on there, and I do still love the roar and rumble of the engine, but daily driving, you don't notice how kind of exhausting it can get, no pun intended, having aftermarket exhaust and the intake on there. It sounds good, it's fun. Seems a little more peppy when you do all that, but yeah, quieting it up a little bit, I'm like, man, it sounds so much smoother just having that long drive every day. I think I'm going to enjoy having a little bit quieter engine. So now I'm considering putting the stock exhaust back on there. I don't know if I'm going to do that, go that far yet, because it does sound pretty beastly. But so yeah, that's where we're at. I don't know what I'm going to do with this old intake. I guess I'm just going to sell it. Someone might be interested. I'd probably put a new filter on there. I mean, the system's still good, and this is all got a little surface rust on that thing now. It's been on there so long. Throw her up on the marketplace, someone will scoop it up, I'm sure. So yeah, that's that right now. That's my 2 cents on cold air intakes on your GM truck. I'm not opposed to anyone running them. I mean, I know they're fun, I know they sound good, and I think you do pick up some performance, especially, you know, initially you put that on there and take it down the road, it's gonna seem a lot more peppy. But you should also know that there could be consequences. You should know the risks, and you know, that's something that a lot of people don't really talk about as you throw that on. It could be messing up more than it's worth as far as having a daily driver, putting one of those on there. So like I said, I'm gonna keep this on there. I don't think I'm gonna go back to cold air intake on this thing, not at this mileage. I'm gonna keep the extra filtration on there. Hopefully I can fix in this next video some of the oil burning concern I've got on this thing. And from there, check engine light, see what it is, and we'll go from there. We'll start getting this thing tidied up here at 230,000 miles. Make sure this thing lasts me a little bit longer. So guys, that's gonna do it for me in this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.